What are we looking for? Dogs.
What's good, YouTube? Bishop Boy Bird. You know we back on Bird's Eye View with it. Like always, appreciate the love and support. Please continue to like, comment, and subscribe. Stop what you're doing. Smash the like button. Smash subscribe button. Hop in the comment section. Comment whatever you want. Of course, I'm dropping daily bangers day by day. You know we got news of the day coming out of Colorado. We're gonna jump right into it, dog. So of course we back with another recap with this Colorado football program. As always, shout out Well Off Media, Recent People Media, the pregame show for providing us this phenomenal footage each and every day. As we all know, the 2025 season for our Colorado football program has come to an end, and of course we finished the year 3-9 after dropping our recent matchup to the K-State Wildcats by a score of 24-14. Of course, this is not the season that we expected, but you know, at the end of the day, we got to live with it, and we got to move on, and we got to get better. Of course, I'm going to bring you guys a quick recap from that game, and then we're going to really dive deep into the recruiting trail. Of course, we know National Signing Day, the first period of National Signing Day. I believe it's 3 of them now, 3 periods of National Signing Day. The first period is starting tomorrow. So, of course, we want to go ahead and ink in the 10 commitments that we have right now, and a few of them have already shut down their recruitment. You're going to be excited about the ones who have definitely shut down recruitment. But let's kind of get into the recap here really, really fast here. Of course, like I said, score 24-14, another very winnable game. Another opportunity that we just let fall through our hands. Of course, Caden Salter got the start. He was 14-25 for $172. Dylan Hayden with another solid performance. Had 15 carries, was our leading rusher, 66 yards, averaged 4.4 yards a carry. Of course, Caden Salter, he had also 15 carries as well, 63 yards, averaged 4.2 yards a pop. Michael Welch, of course, he had 2 touchdowns on the day, 10 carries for 20 yards, and Draylon Miller had 7 carries for 2 yards. Of course, on the receiving end, another good performance by Omarion Miller. Of course, 7 catches, $120, no touchdowns on the day, but another 100-yard game for Omarion Miller. Of course, we got to do all we can to make sure that we keep this young man in Boulder, Colorado, if he doesn't decide to take his talents to the next level. Another year with him, and full year with him and Julian Lewis would definitely be special there. Not much from the rest of the wide receiving core. Of course, I mean, Salter only threw for $172, and $120 came from Omarion Miller. So obviously, not much came from the receiving core. When you look at team stats here, of course, like I said, definitely a winnable game. I mean, we outgamed them 323-321. Of course, when you look at a few of the numbers, we had more passing yards. We rushed for about $150 on the ground. Third down efficiency, we were under 50% there. We didn't have any penalties, which were maybe in the first game we've had in the Coach Prime era, we didn't have any penalties at all, which is very, very disciplined football when it comes to that regard. So kudos to our team there. But at the end of the day, man, without a win, a lot of this doesn't even matter, man. We got to find a way to win ball games. And like I said, didn't have the season that we wanted to have, but it is what it is, right? We're gonna get better, and it starts with the recruiting trail. And speaking of the recruiting trail, right? As we all know, we have 10 commitments right now with this Colorado football program, 10 high school commitments, and hopefully we can get a flip or two. But let's start with our highest graded commit right now currently, which is Carson Crawford. Now, of course, this young man, Carson Crawford, is having a phenomenal season. We've seen some of the things that he was able to do last year as a junior, and with some of the recent decommitments we've had, and with his rise to his senior season, he's one of those players that we needed to make sure that we will hold on to a commitment and get a signature out of him on signing day. And it looks like we're going to get that, because he has shut down his commitment. This young man here, right, the linebacker coming out of Texas, currently at Carthage High School. They're currently on a 28-game winning streak. Carson Crawford, man, 4-star linebacker. Of course, he's the number 11 linebacker in the country. He's a top 200 national player, a top 30 overall player out of the state of Texas. The young man here, right, of course, he played a lot of outside linebacker as a junior. His senior year, he moved to the middle. He's been playing a lot of Mike his senior year. Of course, he said he felt like his eyes, being able to, get reads, and it has really involved. Of course, Oklahoma State, he was flirting with Oklahoma State, past couple weeks here, but he's confirmed that he plans to stick with his commitment to this Colorado football program, and he has shut down his recruitment. He said Colorado was there really early in his recruiting process. He said he loves everything about Colorado. He said the linebacker room is really open. He said he would have to go up there and compete and earn a spot. He said, of course, we love to see that this young man, the fact that he's having a phenomenal season, senior season. I know a lot of schools have been, trying to poach him and try to get him to flip. He's locking in. Like I said, with that senior year, man, he's racked up 97 tackles, 16 tackles for loss, 6 sacks, 23 hurries. He has 3 PBUs, 2 fumble recoveries, 2 forced fumbles. That's over 13 games as a senior. A versatile prospect, can play off the ball at edge. Of course, he's expected to be playing a lot of linebacker, but I mean, he plays with his hair on fire. You definitely see that on tape. He'll be able to be used in multiple different ways. Likely, you'll see him off ball, either like inside backer or like weak side backer, but you can also see him, rushing the passer off the edge in certain packages as well too. See him, being a contributor on special teams, especially early on. Of course, he said Colorado is a beautiful place and they have top of the line facilities with top of the line coaches. Of course, he said it's just an amazing place. He got to hang out with a bunch of guys and some linebackers, was able to take him out on his visit. He said he really enjoyed all the coaches and just how family oriented they are. And we have a dog coming to Boulder, Colorado. Be excited for Carson Crawford. Of course, let's keep it rolling here, man. As we all know, right? Preston Ashley, the 4-star DB coming out of the state of Mississippi. He's been locked in to this Colorado football program since verbally committing back in June. He committed on June 24th. And he said, yes, sir, I'm planning to sign this Wednesday. I am just seeing how we can build more and more throughout the years until we can get Coach Prime a national championship. Of course, Florida and Florida State were the other 2 recruiting finalists for Preston. And, of course, he committed to this Colorado football program. Other schools have still continued to pursue him. Of course, he's a blue chip defensive back, so other schools are still going to try to flip him. But in the recent weeks and the recent months, he's pretty much shut all that down, and he is locked in with this Colorado football program. He said our coaches, we see him coming in and being that guy, but of course he knows he needs to still work his butt off. Likely will play nickel. He's played a lot. He's been versatile in high school. You see him playing a lot of safety. You see him playing nickel. You see him playing on the outside. But it looks like when he gets to college, his best football is going to be ahead of him. And that's going to be in that nickel position there. Of course, sticky coverage. Legit playmaker, man. I'm excited for Preston Ashley, man. I think he's one of those guys that has an opportunity to come in and make an impact. And the position is wide open. I mean, with our true freshmen coming in that 2026 class at linebacker and at DB, especially at corner, it is wide open, man. And they have an opportunity to turn some heads right away. So be excited for Preston Ashley. We got a dog there coming to this Colorado football program. Let's keep it rolling. Another one, man, Rodney Colton Jr. Of course, we spoke about this young man numerous times on this channel before. The 4-star linebacker coming out of the state of Georgia, top 40 linebacker in the country. Of course, he had numerous offers after him as well, too. Schools like Ole Miss, Florida State, Penn State, UCLA, just to name a few. Of course, he committed to this Colorado football program back in July, and he has officially shut down his commitment as well. Looks like he will be signing tomorrow. Love that. I mean, that's a dynamic duo. We getting that linebacker right there. When you look at Carson Crawford and when you look at Rodney Colton Jr., be excited for those 2 young men there. It's going to be fun, to continue to track the development and watch them grow together, coming in, being able to compete together. I know Carson is going to look to be an early enrollee. I'm not sure if Rodney Colton is going to be an early enrollee or not. But regardless of when we get him in, get him developed, get in the weight room, and he's gonna be one of those guys that's gonna make plays on Saturdays for sure. I'm liking the recruiting class when it comes to some of the guys that we do have. I don't like the size of the recruiting class. Of course, we always want more. Hopefully we can flip some more guys. We know we're going to be transfer portal heavy though. So, it is what it is. We just can't swing and miss on some guys. But, with the guys that we do have coming in, I'm really, really happy about. Same with Xavier Payne. He has shut down his commitment as well. The 6'7", 320-pound, 3-star offensive tackle coming out of Florida. This young man, he's been committed to the Buffs since July as well too, and he's also been on that Buffs train when it comes to not wavering, not moving forward, not moving side to side. Right, he's been locked in when it comes to this Colorado football program. Chose the Buffs over schools like Florida State, Syracuse, Arizona, Arkansas. Just to name a few. Like the top 100 offensive tackle in the country. Again, long offensive tackle that's going to be able to come in and develop. And we have some offensive linemen that are coming back as well too. So we're starting to get to the point where we're bringing in consistent offensive linemen that can come in and groom together. Of course, with offensive line play, man, it's all about being a cohesive unit. We got some young ones coming back. When you look at Carday Smith, when you look at Chauncey, we got some young ones coming back, along with Jordan Seaton. Of course, we got to retain Jordan Seaton. Got to do everything we can to retain him. Of course, we got Yo-Yo coming back as well, too. A few others that we still have also coming back. So, be excited for what we have in the trench play now and moving forward. And it starts with keeping guys like Xavier Payne. It looks like we're going to be able to do that. Let's keep it rolling, man. Of course, we're still waiting to hear from Coach Pecco's other son, Joseph Pecco. Of course, Coach Pecco is our, defensive line coach. His son, Joseph Pecco, wanted to mention him really, really quick here. He's still down to Colorado and UNC. It looks like the 3-star defensive lineman plans to reveal his college choice January 16th. At the Polynesian Bowl All-Star Game. Again, his father, Coach Domata Pecco, who played 15 seasons in the league, is our defensive line coach. And, of course, his older brother, right, Domata Pecco Jr., who is committed to this Colorado football program as well, the 6'4" edge rusher. Of course, he is a JUCO guy, the #1 edge rusher in the country. He's a top 5 JUCO player in the nation. I know Arkansas has swooped in and gave him an offer as well. I believe that was his first SEC offer. But as of right now, he's still locked into this Colorado football program. I know he committed back in April. So all signs pointing to, of course, Coach Pecco stays. Domata, Pecco Jr. is going to stay. And, of course, I believe his son, Joseph, will ultimately choose Colorado as well, too. But we will take a look at that once that time comes. Christian Ward, I don't see him wavering at all either, especially with his brother committing in the 2027 class for this Colorado football program. The 3-star 6'3" wide receiver coming out of Florida, coming out of IMG Academy. He's still going to be locked in. Same with, Ben Gula, Josiah Manu, the 2 offensive linemen. I see them still being locked in. And Kobe Johnson and Maurice Williams as well, too. Kobe Johnson, another linebacker coming out of the state of Washington. Very solid linebacker. Can definitely make plays. He also plays with his hair on fire. And then Maurice Williams, right? The corner, the 3-star corner coming out of New Orleans. Of course, he's coming from a really, really great elite high school program in Etna Carr. So, he's going to be coached well. He's going to come in and be able to make some plays at some point in this Colorado football program. So, we got 10 commitments, and it looks like we're going to lock in all 10 of those. Hopefully all of them signed tomorrow, and then we can try to get a flip or two at some point within this recruiting class. But at the end of the day, the transfer portal, we got to connect on some guys, man. Of course, we had a lot of swings and miss with this, transfer portal. It is what it is, part of the business, right? But we got to connect on some guys, and, we got to definitely land some guys. Hopefully we can go ahead and attack the JUCO ranks and get some guys out of the JUCO ranks. And then we got to get some P5 guys, P4 guys that have some production already. At the end of the day, man, we just got to hit. We just got to connect on some guys, man, and be able to turn this football program around and also keep some key pieces, right? Guys like, of course, Julian Lewis, Jordan Seaton, right? The Tawfiq Byers, right? Those type of guys you got to be able to retain. I mean, you can't let those guys leave, right? I mean, the Omarion Millers, the Joseph Williams, right? Those are the type of guys, you have to keep. You can't let those guys walk out of the building. They have to be a part of the, I wouldn't want to say rebuild, but the improvement that we're going to have next season, right? They have to be a part of that, because I definitely believe we will improve, and we won't. There's no way we'll be 3-9. It's going to be interesting to see who comes in as far as the OC. I know we're in the market for a new OC. I've been hearing some names flirting around. Not going to speak on anything yet, but I've been hearing some names flirting around. And at the end of the day, man, we got to get an OC that's going to be able to come in and be able to utilize the weapons that we do have and really turn this offense around. And you got a 5-star quarterback in Julian Lewis, and he has weapons, and you have a solid offensive lineman. You have some running backs as well. Hopefully we can get some guys like Simeon Price. I know some guys are still waiting to hear back to see if they can get like extra years of eligibility, right? So we got to see how that all plays out, but it's going to be fun to continue to track the development of this Colorado football program. Of course, I'm going to keep you guys updated on everything that's going on. As we all know, we've already lost 2 guys in the transfer portal. Mantrez Walker, the linebacker that came out of the state of Georgia. Of course, he was in that 2025 recruiting class, played more on special teams than anything. Of course, he hit the transfer portal. And then the safety, Terrence Love, who came in from Auburn. He was in the transfer portal, came in us from Auburn. Didn't really play much at all. He hasn't really even been with the team since week 4 or week 5, something like that. So, of course, we're not even surprised that Terrence Love hit the transfer portal. But we've had 2 guys, hit the transfer portal so far. And, at the end of the day, man, we gotta just keep on rolling. keep looking forward. Shout out to our NFL buffs. Our NFL buffs have been playing really, really well. Of course, we all know what Shedeur Sanders has been able to do with his 2 starts. Of course, B.J. Green, he's been making plays. I know Will Shepard was elevated to the 53-man roster. I know Cam Craig was elevated to the 53-man roster. Prayers out to Travis Hunter. God is going to heal him quick, and hopefully we have more NFL Buffalo soon. But not going to keep it long. Just want to bring you guys another phenomenal update, man. Please continue to like, comment, and subscribe. You know what time it is, dog. Bird's eye view, man.